Hey, it's really good to see you again. This week I've had a rather busy week, so life got in the way of painting my Blitzkrieg starter army. I will try to do that the coming week for you guys. So today I want to do a kit comparison of all the 1/72 Leopard 2a4 kits I could find and see how the old Matchbox one lives up to the standards of the new kits. So we've got Academy, but it's essentially the same as Matchbox and Revell. We've got the new Meng offering, the new Trumpeter offering, and the older Dragon offering. So I'm gonna do a side-by-side comparison in detail and measurements and try to compare it to the measurements of the real one. And let's see who comes closest and which one is best and which one has a lot of mistakes in it. Join me! Welcome to Adventures by Rob and Sharing History, the place where outdoor lifestyle and history come together. So I've got all four offerings side by side now. To see the unpackaging videos, I refer to the shorts I have posted. Then you see the individual packaging, the boxes and the contents. One thing I have to say in regards to this video is that Trumpeter has by far the best packaging. All the parts are in separate bags and protected by the cushion wrapping. So almost no chance of damaging the parts there. Dragon is the only offering with rubber tracks. However, they do come pre-colored. I don't know if it's visible on the video, but it's black rubber pads with a bit of a rusty color in between. So if you can get them on nice and correct, they don't need a lot of work extra. So that's, I think, a big plus. Now let's see how the detail compares with one or the other. The Academy one is by far the oldest, Dragon coming next, and Trumpeter was last year, and Meng is also quite recent. So let's get them side by side and get some close-up shots. Another quick observation is that Trumpeter is by far the most easy to build. It's got the least parts of them all, and like the tracks, they come pre-formed and you only need to stick in the front road wheel. So that's good. Also with the upper hull, it has already got the back side on it, the skirts on it. The lower hull has already got the back end on it. With all the other brands, those are separate parts. Even with the Dragon offering, the back side is open. Skirts are not on there. Meng does have the skirts, but the lower hull is an old-fashioned bathtub. The old Matchbox offering is what we are used to by Revell. It's all separate parts to build it up, as are the tracks, as is the upper hull. I have to give Dragon one more plus in this comparison. If you look at their manual, it's nicely colored, but it also gives you the most of the painting options, really exotic ones like the Arctic versions, and the most decal options as well, apart from the standard German ones. However, the new Academy offering also has new decals in it, and not only for your typical German leopards, it has Turkish leopards, which is a nice change compared to only Bundeswehr decals. So big plus for Academy there. I'm guessing the Revell offering does have only the Bundeswehr decals, but I don't have it, so I'm not sure. Let's start out with the turrets. So the layout is the same. with Dragon, Meng, Academy and Trumpeter. I'll try to pan the camera a bit so we can see the detail quite nice. Now it's a matter of opinion what kind of detail is best, more pronounced or less deep. Detail wise they are not that far apart. With the Matchbox Revell Academy one being a bit on the soft side in my opinion. And with Meng having to assemble a bit more parts compared to Dragon and Trumpeter, but also Academy needs more parts to be fitted. Size wise, that compares to 3.5 centimeters. Meng being 1 millimeter almost more wide. Matchbox being slightly narrower. And Trumpeter being the same. Lengthwise, that reads on 6.4 centimeters, being the same, being slightly smaller, but you're talking maybe 0.5 millimeter there, and Trumpeter also being the same size. Moving on to the wheels and the tracks, which can make or break a model in my opinion. I'll start with the Dragon offering. I always think the sprocket wheel of the Leopard has really nice detail. All the other wheels, nice detail, not too pronounced, so might not be the most easy one to paint, but still detail is nice. What I really like about Dragon, now you can hate or love rubber tracks, but these rubber tracks, these are not the DS tracks that break after a couple of years in the sunlight. These are rubber tracks, but they have painted on detail. So you've got the black rubber pads with a rusty color in between, so they don't need too much work. Even the inside has the coloration of the rubber. So I really think that's a nice touch, and for novice builders who don't like to paint tracks or don't know how to paint tracks, this is a good offering. Going on to the Meng offering, you've got link and length tracks, I think these are called. So we've got a few long stretches for the upper and lower half, and we've got the short stretches of track to put around the wheels. There's more on the other sprue. Let's check the detail on the wheels, see if I can get the camera to focus. A bit less pronounced detail than on the Dragon wheels, but still all the nuts and bolts are there as they should. Moving on to the track, see if I can get a good image of it. The inside, not too much detail. And the outside, we've got nicely molded rubber blocks. But again, I would have expected a bit more detail on this part. Going on to the sprocket. This looks like kind of a different shape than on the Dragon one. And less deep also. The Dragon one feels more correct if I have to make a choice. See if I can get them close together. So the shape is not too different, but the dragon ones are way more deep, and I think that is more correct for a Leopard tank. But we'll try to check with pictures later on. So now we'll take a look at the Trumpeter offering, with the track and wheel assembly being a one piece, which I really like. However, it comes with a trade-off, at least with Trumpeter. It lacks any detail on the inner track surface, so it's only a smooth surface, which really is a shame, because it's a big negative for this kit. For the rest, overall, I really like the Trumpeter offering, but this is a big no-no. Upper detail on the tracks is quite okay, but yeah, that's a shame, Trumpeter. Looking at the wheels are nice and detailed, and the sprocket also. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus. It's got more or less the same detail as the Dragon offering, and also being of the deep variation like the Dragon offering. Let's check the Matchbox offering. The lower wheels come in one piece, so that's quite easy. The front wheels is really showing its age now. Minor detail only, with complete lack of detail on the wheel hubs. Also the sprocket offering, it does have the detail like the other ones, but really soft. Sprocket teeth also really soft, so it's really showing its age on this one. Moving on to the lower hull, again we've got a Dragon, Trumpeter, Academy and Meng. Right away you see that Dragon and Trumpeter has less parts to put together, while the Meng and Academy Matchbox Revell offering does need you to assemble the complete lower half of the hull like a bathtub, joining all four sides, with Meng being slightly easier to assemble than Matchbox. Let's compare details. It's a bit difficult because Trumpeter and Dragon already have the suspension in place. With Trumpeter being more pronounced than the Dragon offering, but also more complete with the arms already in place. And one thing they did get right is the misalignment of the wheels because of the torsion bars. Sometimes you'll see them just straight across each other, which is wrong, but these are alternate in position so that the torsion bars can lay side by side on the hull, so that is quite correct, even though it does look strange. The old Matchbox offering, it's not that sophisticated in detail, which is to be expected given the age. They also got the alternate positions of the torsion bars correct. Let's check Dragon. Yep, Dragon also. And the Meng offering, which needs parts to be glued on for the suspension, so I'll try to find them in a bit. And by the looks of it, they also got the torsion bar positioning correct. So here we have the suspension parts for the Meng lower hull, which I have to say do look quite nice. If you do a quick comparison with Trumpeter, these are more pronounced still, so it might be more easy to with painting to get it nice, but the separate parts also always give a nice effect. So a bit more work, but maybe just as good. So onto the upper hull. You again see the difference when I zoom out a bit. Don't look at the trash. With the Dragon you have to assemble the skirts. It does however give you the option to either use them or not. Not all leopards carry the skirts, especially when training. They quite often remove them. And Meng gives you the skirts molded on, but gives you a separate back end. Trumpeter, all complete, front, back. With the back part being on the lower hull, of course. Grab it here for detail comparison. And Academy, which gives you the option to build it all and to build up. So Meng measures to 4.7 wide. Do I say that correctly? Yeah, 4.7 centimeters, that is, for the international viewers. Dragon is a tight fit, but it's about the same. Matchbox is almost a millimeter smaller, and Trumpeter is not a tight fit, but it's more or less the same. Lengthwise it's really difficult to measure because you need to assemble some of the parts, because Trumpeter has the backside molded on and the rest do not. So I will not measure the length at this stage, maybe later when I've built a few up. Let's check for detail. Molded on tools, anti-slip surfaces, and an open hatch, which I always find a big plus. Grouses on the front. Meng, more detail I think. Also molded on tools, anti-slip surfaces, a closed hatch, which is a shame, more grouses on the front. I don't know which layout is more correct. I'm really not sure. Academy, also molded on tools and less pronounced, so it's harder to paint and maybe doesn't look as good. On the front also the grouses are less pronounced, closed driver's hatch and no anti-slip surfaces. Trumpeter, I think really good detail for this one, even though it has molded on tools. They are quite pronounced. Nice anti-slip surfaces. Closed driver's hatch, which is really a shame. And some grouses on the front. This one also has the grouses on the nose. Moving on to the side skirts. Dragon has them separate. Nice detail, doesn't stick out too much, but should be easy to paint with a dry brush. Meng has got them molded on. Again, nice detail, a bit more pronounced than Dragon's, so might be a bit more easy to paint. Trumpeter, I think Trumpeter really does look the best overall so far, even though it doesn't give you the option for the open hatch. And the Academy offering, again with the detail being quite soft and again showing its age in this part. Backside comparison, I'll have to check where the Dragon one is. It's on a different sprue. We've got the classic Leopard 2 layout here. Nothing to remark on this, it just looks good. Trumpeter has it molded on the lower hull for the most part. And again, if you compare it to the Dragon offering, it's not exactly the same. And I'm not sure which one is more correct. We'll have to check some pictures for that. With the upper grille being molded on the upper hull. So it doesn't give you a seam here if you're not that good at gluing. So for the novice builders, also Trumpeter would be a better choice. Looking at the Academy offering, again softer detail overall, smaller exhausts comparing to the other two. And moving on to the Meng offering, it gives you the complete backside. And this one actually quite compares to the Dragon offering, I think. Yeah, it does. Last but not least, we'll take a look at the gun barrels. They are quite difficult to measure. I'm gonna give it a try, but the Meng and the Dragon offering need you to glue on an extra part. And the Academy one seems to be a bit different on the muzzle side, so I'll check the manual if we also need to put on a extra part there. So I checked the manual of Academy and we do not have to glue on an extra part on that, so that's quite interesting. It has a completely different shape than the others. That being said, let's start with the Meng offering. It gives you some canvas detail on the turret side, which is quite nice. At first glance it didn't look hollowed out, but we have to glue on this part and then suddenly it is hollowed out, so that's quite nice. Dragon offering, no canvas detail, but it does have nice detail. And again with part 4 and on top of your screen, the hollowed out part for the end of the gun barrel. Trumpeter gives you one piece, no need to glue anything on, no canvas detail, and a bit less pronounced detail than the Dragon offering, but still really nice details on this one, and hollowed out without having to glue on something. Academy, let's flip it around. Less detail than the others, and a really narrow end of the gun barrel, not hollowed out. You see, the shape is really different. I think the end of the gun barrel needs to be more the same thickness as the rest of the gun. Now let's try to give it a measurement. We'll measure it from where it's supposed to leave the gun mantlet to where we have to glue on the extra bit. Which reads 4.4 centimeters for the Meng offering. It gives a bit more on the Dragon one. 4.5 on the Dragon one. Now here's the tricky part, because Trumpeter doesn't have the glue on option, and it looks a bit shorter also. It reads 4.2.5, and Academy the same as Trumpeter, 4.2.5. So I've pulled out my Leopard 2 Bible from Tankograd Publishing, and it's got a 1/35 scale scale drawing so we can compare some of the measurements. And I will write them on screen because I of course did not remember what it was. So we had the upper turret and it reads on 7.2 centimeters in 1/35 scale, and we measured the hull width, the upper part, and it measures on 9.5 centimeters, and we measured the gun barrel from there to the gun mantlet, and it measures on 9.5 centimeters. So I'll put on screen the measurements we took before, and then we know which is more correct. And we had the back detail to check, which aligns more with the Dragon offering and maybe the Meng offering, but Trumpeter being quite close second, because Trumpeter chose to mold this type twice, while Dragon and Meng molded that one twice, but it seems to be a difference there. Here we have one, and it's not as flat as the Meng offering, but not as deep as the Dragon offering. So yeah, it's just I think what you think is best to look at here. Let's see if we can grab them again for a second. Yeah, the Meng is just flat with the Dragon offering being there it is, with the Dragon offering being quite correct actually. So there you have it. Dragon is the better one in this. If ever looking for your Leopard reference, Leopard 2 that is, this is the one to have. All the information that you need is in here. Now if you're looking for a Leopard 1 reference, I recommend this trilogy. I've got 2 parts only because those are the 2 parts that interested me, but those are your 2 go-to publications for Leopard information. So there you have it, 4 1/72 scale Leopard 2a4 kits compared side by side. Of course it's a matter of opinion which you would like to build. I think for novice builders the Trumpeter is the perfect choice. It gives you excellent detail and ease of putting it together. If you want a bit more realistic detail, I think Dragon is still your best offering on this one, even though it's a bit older already and maybe difficult to get. If you want a modern kit which is also easy to get, Meng I think at this moment is your better choice. It's got more parts, more work to do, but got that extra bit of track detail which I really like, even though the sprocket wheel is really too flat. So in the end it comes back to the same thing. The best option is to kit bash, but then you gotta put in some money, even though these 1/72 scale kits are really not that expensive. Under 20 euro most of the time still on this time. I think the Academy offering /Revell /Matchbox, you should leave it behind, even though it's got really nice decals, because you don't see the Turkish decals on the other offerings. That might be the only reason to get the Academy Leopard tank. Detail wise it's really showing its age, and it's really just an old kit. So with that in mind, we're closing up this video. See you guys on the next one. I hope to give you some more modeling news then. If I have the time, I will paint my Flames of War Germans and French tanks from the Blitzkrieg starter kit, and maybe start a new project altogether. Who knows? See you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching. Until the next one.